From We Run With You, I'm Kathy Wynn.
And I'm Rob Alvarez. This is Doing Good. This season, we interview brain aneurysm survivors and caregivers to learn how they are navigating new challenges and finding their own way of doing good.
In this episode, we catch up with Dr. Russin. We talk about his early days as a neurosurgeon, his first Ironman triathlon, the new paths he and his team are forging in medicine, and his preparation for his second Ironman this coming weekend. Yes, that's right. Dr. Russin, Laura Kern, and I are going to be taking on Ironman California this Sunday, October 22nd. Enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Dr. Jonathan Russin. Hi, Dr. Russin. Thanks for joining us today.
Rob, Kath, how are you?
Great. How you doing? It's good.
Good. I'm in lovely Bakersfield, California today.
Ah, that's where you are. Okay.
120 degrees or whatever it is.
120. Oh my goodness.
I thought our 87 degrees was hot today.
Yeah.
We're spoiled.
Central Valley hot.
So you are our first returning guest. So it's great. We get to catch up with you. The last time we talked was in 2020. So
is that supposed to be an award of some kind, or am I remediated? I have to repeat my podcast.
Yeah, it's a special award. Must say something about the first one.
Right.
That we invited you back. But so I don't know if you remember, but during our first interview, we did a little bit of foreshadowing of your first Ironman triathlon. And for those who don't know, the Ironman is 140.6 miles of fun, pain, tears, joy, misery, all that rolled into one. And I actually got to watch you and Kathy go through all that last year in Arizona.
No, 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It was
2021.
Wow, time flies.
Yep.
So how was that experience for you? What did you remember most?
I think what most people say is it's a long day. It's a long day. There's just the anticipation, and then there's just the nuts and bolts of the day of like trying, to not forget something in the morning and getting everything packed in. I haven't done a full before, so I'm nervous that I, don't have enough nutrition on the bike or this or that. So there's just those sort of smaller anxieties. And then once you start, for me, once I started racing, it felt fine in the beginning. You do your swim and you're done with the swim. It's like, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And then I get on the bike and I was like, this is going okay. And then it's going fine. And then it's really not okay. And then you're really miserable. And then I just decided that by the end of the bike, I would do almost anything to get off that bike. I could not be on it another minute. The parts where it hurt was not appropriate. Everything was just like so painful. And I don't know, Arizona, I don't know what you thought, Kath. The road conditions, especially close to town, were horrible. So you're just getting like pounded.
Yeah, it was very bumpy. And
out in the desert was okay, but like in town, you just get crushed.
Yeah, but then out in the desert, that was where we got all the headwinds. It was uphill going out, and then add to that, it was all headwinds. So
for like a weak biker like me, I'm doing like 10 miles an hour on the way out. You turn around, you're doing like 30 miles an hour on the way out. So the bike was just the physical pain of it. And then when you start running, it's almost like, you get a little bit of a second wind. You know this is the last thing you need to get done. But then the grind and like the just misery becomes almost, for me, it becomes like emotional. It's like, why is this happening? Why won't my body do what I want it to do? And I remember my daughter stayed up really late. The girls were there, and they were in this little park where we would do a lap by. And I was, I don't know, after like 15 or 16 miles, I just couldn't run anymore. So I was walking for a period of time. And I remember coming up towards the park, and I'm like, I can't walk. I can't let my daughter see me walk. they'll be like, Dad's given up. He like failed, So, at that point, I'm like, I got to do it for the girls. I got to start running again. And, I'm doing whatever kind of looks like a run, like whatever movement would make somebody believe this could be a run, but it's not really. It's like, some sort of falling into your next step sort of action. And then actually, once I walked for a few miles, I started running again, and I actually ran my fastest miles at the end. And it was just, I don't know, I felt probably my best of the day at the finish. And then, Kathy was there. She was done, of course, because she kicked my ass. And then, the girl, my kids were still up, and my wife was, and, you guys were there. We got to take some pictures and just spend some time together those few minutes after you finish. And it's, like I started off with, it's a long day.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, spectating, it was even for us spectating, it was a long day, but it was a lot of fun watching you guys go through all those ups and downs, and the emotions. So, and also at the start was like a long walk.
Yeah, it was a long wait
because it was like it was like a line to get into the water. So
a lot of anticipation.
Yeah, were you thinking about the day at all, or were you trying to like distract yourself from having to think about what you're about to go through?
Just butterflies at that point. It wasn't too bad. It was okay. I felt like I did enough training to get through it, so I felt okay at that point. But things certainly went downhill,
unraveled
for quite a while. Yeah, for a bit. But it's interesting because I've in the spectator experience for those can't be that great, right? I mean, you're just sort of hanging out for most of the time, and then you see somebody go flying by. But the weird thing is how much I felt like I got out of seeing everybody. Like even at the turn, when you go out for your second loops and everybody was down there cheering, or I would see, your family out on the course. They were like, you guys were out on the course in a couple of places. And even on the run course, there was one of the Zeiss representatives that worked at the BNI in Phoenix when I was a resident, and I kept in touch with him. He was out on the course, like giving high fives. And so I just was surprised how much I sort of got out of that. That it really does help.
So do you think that experience, because it's kind of a big test, right? And that's big reason why a lot of people do it, to test what you're capable of. Do you think it compares to anything you've like experienced in the past, be it sometime in medical school or any?
I don't know about educational
journey. Or is it
about the educational test?
I've never done an Ironman, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, neurosurgery residency is a long grind. It's 7 years, and if you do a fellowship, it's 8 years. You start just out of med school. You start as this sort of bright, energetic, naive to the sort of situation, brand new doctor. And then, much like the Ironman trip was, you really take a beating through a lot of it. But then, very similarly, towards the end, if you did the things right, and if the people that you worked with did right by you and took care of you, you come out of it really strong at the end, and you sort of finish strong. But that's I would say from an athletic standpoint, I would say the rim to rim is a close second to how sort of tough the Ironman can be. Because my fellowship director had this race that we would do every year, and he would do every year with all the residents and fellows. And they would start at the North Rim the first weekend it opens to the Grand Canyon, and then they would run down the Grand Canyon, across it, and up the South Rim. And when you if you want to really do, and I think it's like a marathon distance, but with like 10,000 feet of elevation change or something.
Yeah, that's a good test.
But I think if I had to compare the two, I think the Ironman was tougher.
Mm.
So going back a little bit, since our last interview, a lot has changed I think for all of us. We've together we created We Run With You as an official nonprofit. Since then, I think this past year or earlier this year, Run LA with Kathy actually turned into, at least for this last year, the LA Marathon into Run LA with Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of thinking back, um, how do you think your life has changed since that first marathon with us during the first Run LA with Kathy, or how do you think your life would be different if that didn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, sort of bifurcation points in, making decisions in your career and in your personal life and things. And um, I'm real lucky that I have Rebecca, and she has been sort of really supportive of everything that, not just I'm saying I've done, but we've done as a group with the We Run With You project. And I mean, when you imagine what you're going to do as a doctor and you want to be a surgeon, say, most of that is focused on the hospital and when people are really sick. But what I've learned from sort of working, being a part of your life and your family, and now Laura's and others who have been involved with the We Run With You project, and there's many who have donated their time, their money, their stories, is just how small of a snippet the kind of hospital experience is, and how much work that you guys have left to do once you leave. And so, if we're really going to, help people, survive brain aneurysms, it's not just about the surgical event. That's, now I sort of describe it when I talk to families as kind of the first hurdle to get over, but then you got to get through the hospitalization. And then when you're out, say you get out and you're walking and talking like everybody else, that doesn't mean that you feel like everybody else and you can do everything that everybody else is doing. And there's no like rehab class in medical school. I mean, so it's been important to be a part of your lives and to see how you've recovered and then how you've turned around and decided to give back. I think that represents how valuable it is that there's support during the recovery period, that you've actually turned around and spent so much of your time to invest in creating We Run With You, a community to support people, because you recognized how tough it was for you. I mean, otherwise you would have never, I don't think, turned around and put all of this time and effort into creating something where other people can come and find, similar experiences to theirs. People who have literally or have the same feelings about, doing the basic things that they want to do without being scared. With the same level of sort of executive functioning and dexterity and things they did before, without feeling exhausted after, basic day. So, I would not have had that experience. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to understand that. And now, with what you guys are doing, what we're doing, raising money to specifically fund projects on the rehab side, be it neuromodulatory strategies, be it, just improving resources for those who are recovering. And that's the biggest, I mean, that's a huge part of taking care of brain aneurysm patients. And that's something I wouldn't have really seen firsthand or been a part of if I didn't run that first LA marathon.
Yes, the way I look at it is, we've been able to connect people to this, but it all stems from that remarkable story. Because it with what I'm talking about is not only Kathy, recovering and running marathon a year after her surgery, but also, her neurosurgeon running with her. That's something that gets people's attention. And I think that initial, connection, that, remarkable story that gets people's attention has been able to bring them into our community. And so many of them also willing to share their stories, and then spreading all that and just bringing in that connection and community. And I think just wanted to say that, it all stemmed from that, kind of that spark of idea. Hey, let's run together. And although it came, somewhat probably, unplanned, right? It was, hey, let's do this thing. But just thinking back,
I think we should be clear, Rob. It was Kathy's idea.
Okay.
Yeah, this one was my idea.
That you're willing to go.
We got to blame somebody.
I did give you an out. I said, run the last few miles with me. You took it upon yourself to run the whole thing, which I absolutely appreciate. And I was stunned and shocked, but
Yeah. But that's something that we've built upon, and that's still part of our story as we run with you, right? As a community. So I just wanted to point that out. But I want to ask you, personally, is what, when we started talking about making, and it might have been with your bit of your push as well, turning, we run with you, making it kind of official. It was something we started to share stories back in 2017 or 18,
yeah.
And to now what it is, and what made you want to build us or push us to build that together.
Well, I think it was again, I mean, it was your idea. We just sort of talked about what's the best structure to take the goals that you had with your website and with your stories and things, and to make the biggest impact. And I think we had a bunch of discussions about how to do that, and one of it is to really make a formal nonprofit, have a mission statement, have a vision for what you want to do with it, and then do it. And if it doesn't work, you don't like it, or it goes off the rails, you can always just stop. But at least you have that opportunity to sit down and think about what you want. When I talk to residents very frequently, and I've gotten the same advice from people who mentored me, sometimes the hardest thing is to figure out what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do that, then you can start to make steps to get there, right? Vision, strategy, execution, these are things that people that mentor me pound into me, right? And the hardest part sometimes is having that vision. What do we want to be? What do we want to get done? And it really seemed, as we all talked more and more, that a lot of this needed to be focused on people who were coming out of the hospital and looked like everybody else, but really didn't feel like everybody else, and couldn't do, or didn't feel confident enough, or had way too much anxiety to do the things that they really enjoyed anymore. So how can we help create something to mentor those people back into it? And is there rehab strategies and better ways to help brain aneurysm survivors re-engage into their life? And we're doing it, you're doing it through athletics, through sport, through running, through racing. Some people aren't, that isn't their thing, right? It's music, it's something else. But if there's communities out there where they can find their thing, then it makes it easier for them, and maybe eventually they do get back to doing what they're doing. And I think Laura Kern is such a great example. It took you years to kind of get back into feeling like you again. And forgive me if please let me know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but it really, we would revisit this and you would, very frequently kind of, and I don't know if you're all the way there, but it certainly seems like you've gotten more and more confident each year with, the whole project and with your recovery and just watching you turn around and mentor someone else through it. That's exactly what I think we're trying to do. And then, that's the base community of We Run With You. And then the fundraising parts are, okay, we know that we as a community have these like-minded experiences or people who are recovering at different parts of the recovery, and we're helping each other. How as a group can we pool our resources and put it into something that we think will make everybody who's coming out of this life, this process out of the hospital after suffering brain trauma, brain aneurysms, AVMs, how can we, affect a wider group by making donations that support research or support local rehab facilities or start to create different rehab programs. So it certainly wasn't solely my idea. It was your idea to start. And I think we just sort of had enough discussions that we thought this was the best way to go.
Yeah, and I think we're unique in that. And I know throughout this, I was, back and forth on, should we focus on running or, the sport of triathlon? We have run as part of our name. Is that too specific?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what makes us unique, right? Bringing in sport into helping people recover from brain injury. And I know, from back in our first interview, it's been, a big part of your life, sports, growing up, playing lacrosse, soccer, and finding that in your, journey through school and, and work and back again, in the recent years. So do you think that's, with all the, there's so many projects and I'm sure opportunities you have within, neurosurgery, so many projects you can be involved in, spend your time on. Do you think that's a part of it too, as far as a reason you're part of our board and part of building We Run With You?
Because it's an athletic, yeah. I mean, I have never been a golfer.
No,
it's not something I go out on the weekends. And I don't think Rebecca would buy that. Hey babe, I'm gonna go for 4 hours. You just watch the kids. I'm gonna go golf or something. I don't think she's not gonna, But when I go out and run or swim or be active, I'm definitely more engaged and better to be around. It's not unusual that Rebecca will be like, have you maybe you need to go for a run. Run it out, and then it's true. I come back in a better mindset. So having the fact that We Run With You is centered around these races has made a big impact on our life. And like anything, too much can be a little. You got to temper it a little bit. Rebecca recently was like, "Do you think we'll go on a vacation where you're not racing?"
I asked her that. I ask Kathy that all the time.
Yeah. Like, all the vacations are around. Can we go to Paris or something? Well,
I wanted to go to Paris.
She wants to do that to run the marathon.
Marathon, right?
But just during the month when there's the marathon.
Well, we did have a vacation where she didn't have a race, but I don't think they have races where we went. So, that was a good
Right?
Iceland, yeah.
Yeah, Iceland. I did run. There just wasn't a race.
Yeah, no marathons or triathlons, at least that we knew of.
Yeah. Or avoided searching for.
Yeah, it's just begging. It's just begging for you to create one up there.
So, stepping back again a little bit, and back to maybe going back to the operating room. I think, as we said last time. Do you remember your first craniotomy, and what? How did it feel before, during, after?
Well, I think one of the first cases I actually performed a craniotomy or drilled the skull or something. I was a medical student actually
Mm.
at New Jersey Medical School, and
Oh, wow.
a gentleman had been on a ladder with a nail gun, and he was like, securing rafters or whatever he was doing, and he lost his balance with the nail gun. And as he like tried to catch himself, he brought it back, and the nail gun hit him in the head, and so he delivered like a 4 centimeter nail into his brain.
Holy cow.
And he had been wearing like this American flag bandana, which was now nailed to his skull. Um, but he was actually pretty good. He didn't hit anything. He didn't have a big hemorrhage from it. He didn't hit any blood vessels. But when you take it out, you don't want to like windshield wiper the thing, right? You got to just drill around it carefully and just pull the thing out. And so we took it, and they, the attending had me, perform a little, crania around it, and then just kind of pull the nail out. And you looked at it, there's no bleeding coming out, so I guess that was it.
Oh my God.
So it was memorable for the patient, the way the patient got injured. But the other most memorable thing about that was that I think one of the residents in it was a guy named Arya Sabat, who, when I was a medical student, was like the biggest cheerleader of neurosurgery you could imagine. He's really one of the big reasons why I went into neurosurgery. He was like, "This is awesome. This is the best thing you got to do." And he's like, and since I think November 2014, he's been in federal prison, and he got sentenced to like just under 20 years for healthcare fraud and like committing like unnecessary surgeries and being involved in kickback schemes
Oh
for
my
like
gosh.
hardware companies, and so like one of the worst cases ever. He was in California first, then he went to Michigan, and the feds prosecuted him.
Hmm.
So, anyways, that's really kind of memorable for the first
Oh.
guy. I'm pretty sure he was there, but maybe not.
So was that guy like, was he unconscious the whole, like, once
Yeah.
did he lose consciousness when
No.
oh my God. So what was he like? What did he have any
He's like, I
symptoms?
hit
What was,
myself in the head with a nail gun. I think I shot a nail in my head.
really? He just
At
walked
the
into the
X-ray.
Oh, so he walked into the ER himself? Like,
Well, yeah, they brought him into the ER. I mean, I think they called 911 from
Oh.
the construction site, but he was just sitting there.
Oh my God.
He was just sitting up on the bed. We had to like cut the American flag bandana.
Oh my God.
So how about the time where you actually had to do something with, the arteries or in the brain, where you had to either cut or, I don't know, do some sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like an apprenticeship. So over time, people kind of give you, the stepwise sort of responsibility to do the cases. And I think the first aneurysm I ended up doing alone. Typically, so this is sort of a minor point, but when I trained it's a 7-year residency, but your 6th year you're released from residency, you're rehired by the county, and you're a fully credentialed. At least it was in our program, a fully credentialed attending.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you've graduated. That means you are like a transition to practice, which means you can do any case you want independently. You're a fully trained guy, but you haven't finished your residency.
Okay.
So it's sort of quirky, and it was a big attraction to people for our program because they got that time of independence. And when I was a 7th year, there's national meetings. So there's a Congress of Neurologic Surgeons, there's an American Academy of Neurologic Surgeons. And when that happens, all the academic surgeons get on a plane and they fly to whatever city that's in, and it's like, sparsely populated as far as, the academic centers and many of the other centers too. And so I was here as a brand new attending, and a 17-year-old kid came in with a brain aneurysm. And typically, even though we're independently practiced for that type of thing, we would always have our senior attendings there. We'd always call them. And, he's a 17-year-old kid and he's in good shape. He looks good. So it's like a high sort of, risk case. If it goes wrong, it's a lot of exposure, end up in a lot of trouble. So I called my boss and he says, well, I'm in, Boston or wherever I am. I said, what do you want me to do? Should I send it to UCLA? Like, should I, send it over to Neil Martin? And he's like, well, Neil Martin's standing right next to me. So I don't think that's going to work. So then, the highest risk of rupture for these re-rupture for aneurysms is in the first 2 days and then the first 2 weeks, So I also don't want the kid to re-rupture. So I just decided to do it with my, junior resident. So me and the junior, that was I think the first aneurysm, I clipped independently. And, I did it how I was taught to do it. And I had really good teachers and it went fine. But, it was just the whole way it kind of shook out was anxiety producing. It would have been nice if it was like someone who'd had their entire life and they were 80 and they were, things go wrong. Yes, old people, that happens, but it's like a 17-year-old. So.
Yeah, it sounds like the definition of throwing you into the fire, right?
A little bit, but that's kind of what our training program is known for. A little bit, supervised in a way. I was a 7 at this. I was almost done at this point. So, it's not like we take our interns and have them, do this sort of thing. But there is, it's always been a place where there's early responsibility in taking care of patients.
Now you're teaching these young doctors, residents, at USC. What is it like teaching future neurosurgeons? And, what approach do you use to get them ready?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes joke that if you can learn by watching, then you can learn from me. But and that's because they always want to do, right? They want to do it, but they want you to be there to do it. And you have a million other things you need to do, so you don't want to have to be there to wait to do it. And so you're pulled in a bunch of different ways, directions with your time. But like I said before, it's very much an apprenticeship. So you see these young surgeons kind of develop, and they start to develop their own interests. And if it happens to be in cerebrovascular things that we do, then I certainly have a much closer relationship with them. And everybody gets to come through and, do certain types of cases that we do in the vascular side. But those who have a particular interest in doing it full time in their career or academically, we certainly engage more in doing research projects and in, getting them exposure in the OR and getting them mentored as far as in the social kind of circles of cerebrovascular at the meetings and introducing them to the right people. And now we have a fellowship, which is only a couple years old. We're training our second fellow, our first fellow, Rob Renner. Kathy, because Rob ran the marathon. He's such a good guy. He got a job early, and they said, you got to start or you're going to lose the job. So he actually left the fellowship early, so he didn't complete the whole thing. So Vince is going to be, he ran this year, right?
Yeah.
Vince is going to be the first guy, I think, to finish it. And then we have the next 3 years already lined up of, fellows coming in. So, because we do something so specific, we give those fellows some extra, kind of experience. They're graduated, completely finished, similar to what I did in Phoenix. They come here. But it's hard. I would say it's challenging for me because I'm 9 years out of residency. And so much of that has been very sort of selfishly spent on trying to develop new sort of surgical techniques, develop, the research projects that I thought were important, work on things like, that we run with you. And in that building of your own reputation and career, the teaching part of it, I think, is is not as emphasized, or not as I didn't do as good a job as I could have. And now, I'm trying to, with a fellow and everything, trying to spend more time mentoring and bringing people along in their training. And the hard part is trying to understand what they want and understand how they feel. Because everybody kind of experiences a little bit different, and you have to handle people a little bit differently as far as how you talk to them, how you teach them, and what their goals are and what their expectations are. Because to be a really good teacher, I need to understand that. And that helps me know how much responsibility to give them, and in what way, and how to make them most comfortable, and get them to where they really want to be. And so it's a challenge that, I think probably at this point in my career, I really need to spend more time. I really need to emphasize more.
Now, how many are you mentoring? Or how many residents are under your mentorship?
Well, we have 21 residents.
Oh, wow.
We have three a year, seven years. And then I have a fellow. But, at any one point, like I said, many people have different interests in spine or other things, so I may not spend as much time with them. But then I also work at Caltech, and there's some postdocs there that I mentor as far as, grant ideas, research ideas, helping them, writing papers with them, and then supporting their applications into academic positions. So there's some research, basic science sort of people that we work with that I spend a lot of time with as well. And that's at the Broad Stem Cell Center, that's at the DNI, that's at Caltech.
Do you find yourself kind of helping them through figuring out what it is they want to do? Because I'm sure that's part of their experience, is just trying to figure out, right, where do I want to focus?
Right. I mean, just as we said before, right, the hardest thing sometimes is figuring out what you want. But as adults, these are adults. I'm trying to tease out what they want to do. And a lot of times the concern that they have is, well, maybe I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll be good at it. And what I try to encourage them is not to worry about the part of whether you can or whatever. That's next, right? What do you want to do? If that's what you want to do, then full throttle into that, and you know what, it'll define itself. If you're not able to do it, well, then you gave it your best shot, and you're gonna benefit from it somehow, and the experience, and then you're gonna find where you do best fit.
So in your work, it does sound like you've sort of partially answered my next question of, you're focusing a little bit more into mentoring and teaching. But what other things in your work are you focusing your energy most these days?
Most, yeah. So I can try and narrow it, because there's such a broad spectrum of things that we're working on. I've really gotten a lot of satisfaction out of working with our plastic reconstructive surgeon, Dr. Carey, and with our vascular surgery team and Dr. Suku Han. We've really put together it was the Cerebral Revascularization Center. Now it's a Neuro Revascularization Center. We're doing more than brain. We're working on spinal cord, peripheral nerve. And what I'd like to do is, continue to build on that within the university to get to a point where we have a vascular institute that incorporates a lot of the research and clinical projects across many different surgical subspecialties. The clinical and the research efforts can be coordinated in an institute that benefits from cross-disciplinary, like cross-fertilization between disciplines as well, in the clinical world as well as the research world. And then it also helps us leverage industry and studies to be done here, where people want to invest in a place that's doing it the best and can provide the big clinical programs that they can do their studies for, and develop their technology at. So, if in the next 10 years I can become a better teacher, and I can get together a true sort of vascular institute at USC, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So, can you elaborate on this synergy between neurosurgery and plastic surgery?
Yeah, and vascular surgery. I mean, if you take any multidisciplinary, so the way people are trained is different, and the reason it's different is because historically it's different. You can say everybody came from general surgery, but why do like the plastic surgeons have different instrument trays than the vascular surgeons, than the neurosurgeons? All the instruments look different, and a lot of the techniques are different as far as, even something as simple as a vessel ligation. And some vascular surgeons are very rote about putting two, silk ties on each end of the vessel before they cut it, right? Whereas, the plastics or the ENTs will just slam down a couple of clips or whatever it is, right? Something as simple as that, right? Everybody's kind of got their own style and their own techniques, and they're siloed. And they're siloed for many different reasons, but probably one of the biggest ones is money. So each department wants to they get paid for the surgeries that they do. If you start doing surgeries with other departments, well, now you're not, where's the money going, right? And so it's almost like a competition. And so who can make, right, whose department makes the most money, right? You want to be a very, well-off, but why? Well, because that's the way you hire new people. That's the way you expand business. The way you take care of more patients. That's how you do more research. That's how you build a reputation of, being a good pro. So, money's not a dirty word. It's just that they're siloed and they have their own interests, and it's hard to get them to collaborate. So, but when you start to, if you can break down some of those barriers and you can actually make it in everyone's best interest to work together, what you get is ideas that otherwise you just wouldn't have. So a very simple example is plastic surgery uses free flaps all the time. So they take flaps from everywhere and they put them on to reconstruct scalp wounds. They put them on for limb salvage things, all kinds of stuff. Neurosurgery, there's like no such thing as a free flap, right? I mean, we don't really use that. But when we started having some of these more complex blood flow problems in the brain, we came up with the idea of using a free flap from the forearm, and we can hook up the veins, we can hook up the arteries, we can create living tissue that can provide blood flow over time as the tissue, the blood from the tissue is recruited into the brain, but also we have a direct artery that we can sew in, so we have the direct blood flow right away. So this free flap idea was something that probably would never exist unless me and Joe were working together. And that's just a very simple example. We've done this with spinal cord stroke. We're working on things for spinal cord stroke. We've done this with with our endovascular services to try and help, treat aortic aneurysms, brain aneurysms. So I think the idea that you can get two disciplines to work together is going to allow a lot of solutions to be created that previously didn't exist.
Yeah, I know that competition, in research, between different institutions or different corporations, I know and end up hindering progress, I think, in the end. And I know there's a lot of people trying to get those separate institutions to collaborate and in a specific research field. But I think, it's surprising to hear, even within, the same institution, you have the silos and the division and the competition between departments.
For sure, but I think it's ultimately, the time that we've put in and the money that, so because, and the money that's been shared rather than collected in a single department has really benefited everybody over time. And I mean, I'll be giving a talk at the VEITH, which is like one of the biggest vascular meetings in the country. I'd never be going there without Suku, working with us. We've given, talks about our brain revascularization or brain bypass stuff at the biggest plastic surgery meetings, at the microsurgery reconstructive meetings. And this has really, been well received and people are excited about it. And I think it's a good sort of model. You don't see it. I've been around the country, a lot of really good cerebrovascular programs, and we're really unique because of that, because of this collaboration, because of this team that we have.
Yeah, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear what, how it progresses. I wanted to, so just bringing it back kind of full circle as we kind of near the end of this episode is, I know once again you guys are preparing for another Ironman later this year. I think less than 2 months from now.
Yes, less than 2
in
months.
California this
I don't
time.
think we should have a countdown or anything. It makes
Okay.
me realize how behind I
I haven't
am.
thought about it. So how, I guess maybe I should ask how are you feeling about it, and how do you think it'll be different for you this time around?
Well, you know what to expect. You did so doing it is a big thing. And I've learned this with the 70 point with the halves. So I've done enough halves now that like I kind of know what to expect. I know where it's going to be bad. I know when it'll be okay. Like, and you have kind of a routine to get yourself through the different parts. And a lot of it was in the halves, at least, nailing down the nutrition and the hydration. Once I like nailed that down, because I've done it a bunch of times, it's actually, I don't know if it's enjoyable yet, but it's a good day.
Yeah.
Okay? I can be done. I feel okay. Hop in the car, go get some food, go home. Get to bed. It's not like this. Carry me on the stretcher away from the race kind of thing. So doing the second one, I think will be good. California, I'm really excited about because it's a downriver swim.
Yes, I'm gonna PR finally on the swim.
I mean, when I went, because I was hurt last year, so I didn't do it. I went up. We were there anyways because we had the house, and we went to go see some of the friends, some of our friends.
Yeah, Basil and Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the surgeons, Greg McGee, was racing. So we thought, okay, an hour and 40 minutes, hour and a half, they have to swim, so we'll be there in time. We pulled up and they were running by.
Oh, wow.
They were out in like 40 minutes or 45 minutes, something crazy like that.
Yeah. So majority of the athletes swam either just under an hour or just a little over an hour. So I am so excited. As you know, I'm not the strongest. Swim is not my strength.
So you guys are praying for fast currents.
Yeah, the fastest.
With all the rain that we've had, man, we're gonna be fine.
Superman pose. That's all we have to do. Tiny water.
But the bike is windy.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very similar to Arizona. We're going to be headed out doing 10 miles an hour and coming back doing 30. And then the run's very flat.
Yeah.
Just like Arizona. So I kind of can digest that. I feel like I've been there. It's not too bad. It's flat. It's not like going 8,000 feet elevation change or something. It's very, very doable. So I just need to get the hours, really the hours on the bike. I don't know how you've been doing, Kath, with the ride, but I have not been on the bike enough.
I've been pretty good with my training. My bike rides have been surprisingly getting better. I did my first Hyundai, an unexpected Hyundai last week. And I don't know if it was the new course because usually I do this canal ride and I, make up my own routes as I'm riding. But yeah, so far it's going really well. I have a long course in 2 weeks. Just that's how I will be spending my birthday, is on a long course out in Williamsburg, Virginia. Didn't take too much to twist Rob's arm to come and cheer for me.
So what's it like now? You're going to get in the car, you're going to turn around, and that's it. It's just the two of you.
It's just the two. Yeah. Yes, we're recent empty nesters. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Cheering for you guys.
Yeah, the twins are going to be there. It's going to be.
I remember how little Tyler and Maddie were at the doctor's show because they showed them on TV. What year was that? 2015. We did.
Yeah,
Did that?
2016. 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
They were like kids.
They were just barely turning 10. Yeah. No, they weren't 10 yet. They were 9. Yeah. Yeah. They
And
were.
now
Yeah.
I see the pictures you put up in their college dorm rooms. It's terrifying because my girls are 7, 9, and 10 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
The kind of
flies.
age they were.
Well, yeah, I
It
can't
seems like
believe.
it was nothing. We just did the doctor's show.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. I mean, you look back, yeah, like, whoa, that was 7, 8 years ago.
8
That's,
years ago.
It's like, it's crazy just looking back. That's how long we've been doing this, working and building this.
Yeah, part of their life
thing.
is we run with you and
Right.
supporting me and all the survivors that we've met along the way, like the Vallejos family and of course your family. Yeah, they told me that they're gonna really miss the October cheering because unfortunately they cannot make it out.
You got to be. Yeah, they got.
Yeah, they have
Big
responsibilities.
responsibilities.
Yep,
Yeah.
they have responsibilities. Yeah, but we're super proud, super proud. But I'm finding myself, there are moments when maybe other parents will feel the same way, but because we've been so active with them since they were like 5 years old. We started running, doing tries since they were like 5 and 6, and they picked up the sport. So now whenever I go and train, like the other day I went to go for a swim and someone asked me, "How are you doing?" And I just bawled. I just started crying and I don't know why because usually I would, they would come maybe do a lap or so with me, or if they're not training with me, they're doing their own activities, running and swimming, and so I miss it. But yeah, it's just crazy how small they were and they're adults now, and your your family, Dr. Russin, have been like their second family. Whenever we go out to California, that's all they know is to come out and cheer at LA. And But
Well, I think that We Run With You has also been selfishly for the healthcare providers a reminder of how important it is that we get it right.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing, because you see how people's families are affected, and you can imagine the people who don't do well and how those families are affected. And so it gives us some inspiration. I know the nurses who come to the marathon events, and everybody from the scrub techs to the the chair of our department. Everyone gets something out of you, as well as you guys getting something hopefully from us. It really does, because it's long hours, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time away from the family, and when you get to see you and Tyler and Maddie and Rob and intact, you're sending them off to college, and then they'll start the next phase of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really reminds us how important it is that we do the job.
Yeah, it's a great way to celebrate everyone's achievements. Everyone's that's put in the time and care.
Yeah,
that's definitely a great time to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Before we end, is there anything you wanted to get into, or something? A question we didn't ask.
I want to hear what advice you gave the kids when you left them in the dorm room. What was it? No tattoos, or tattoos are great. No piercings. Don't come on with a tattoo or a piercing. What was your advice?
Well, my advice to Tyler we'll go with Tyler first, since we dropped him off on Sunday and left on Monday. My advice to him was just, have fun, focus on your studies, and most importantly, to keep in touch with his twin sister. And for me, it was really hard to leave Tyler, only because he's so far away. He's a 6-hour drive. It's a 6-hour drive for us. Plane, train, flights is not the easiest. It still will take us a couple hours to pick him up. But yeah, that's what I told Tyler. And then with Maddie, I'm just really excited for her. She worked so hard to get to where she is right now. And it helps tremendously that she's only about just a little over 60 minutes away from us. But, she's our baby girl. And, it's great we got to see her all, 3 of her roommates. She lives in an apartment suite. So it's really nice. Much, much better accommodations than how I remember my college years. But although Santa Barbara wasn't that bad. But my advice to Maddie was just, when there are days when it's really tough, just remind yourself, why did you even want to why did you even want to go to college? And 2, to, always know that I'm here for her. I'm only a phone call away. And of course, to make sure that she touch base with Tyler. That's the most important thing, is that they've known each other. They've been together since, obviously, in the womb. They're twins, but they have never left each other for more than a week. Yeah. Like maybe they went to separate camps, but other than that, this is the first time they've ever been apart. So it was harder. I think it was much harder on me leaving them. Okay, let's stop because I'm going to start crying.
Yeah, for me, it was my advice when, we dropped them off was the same, much shorter and the same. I just told them to have fun and be good.
Yeah.
I think I've throughout the summer I've been giving them, every time I think of something, thinking back to my college experience, and I'm like, what advice should I give?
Mm-hmm.
I've been dropping it on them all summer, so like they're probably tired of me giving them any more advice. But I think the good thing is they've been there about a week now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've taken some of my advice that I've given them this past summer already. So I think they're off to a good start.
Trying to think of one of my dad's best pieces of advice. He said, "Don't get arrested in the South." That's what he told me.
That's good advice.
I said, "Thanks, Dad." Okay.
He's like, I don't know when I'm going to head south, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
That is good advice. You can borrow it if you want.
Yeah. I think my brother gave me that advice back in the day.
Yeah, it's weird though. You're so happy for them, but at the same time, you're so sad. And that's just how I've been feeling.
But it's funny because it's like the way I thought about it was like, or when I thought about the thing that made me sad was like, it was kind of an end to something. Like, you feel this like loss. I guess it's kind of like an end to your kids being kids. But then when somebody reminded me, oh yeah, they'll be back for winter break and summer break, they'll be back home again, and I was like, oh yeah, they'll actually be back. They're not like going off and I'm only going to see them, one day or a weekend when they happen to want to come and visit or something.
Now that they're out of the house, now that you're reflecting on everything, I mean, how much do you think your brain aneurysm and your recovery changed your relationship with the kids?
I think it's more of, I think for me, I'm definitely much more confident because of my experience, in the sense that, I see that when they are out racing, when they do cross country or when they have track or swim, I almost feel like, they're what I've been what I've done over the years, run that marathon, my comeback, less than a year out, and then continuing to enjoy what I'm doing. I think they have, if anything, they've really benefited from seeing me continuing to keep doing this. They, of course, they always hear, oh, mom's getting slow. You guys are so much faster, as it should be, of course. But it's really nice to hear from them, when I ask them, how was your race, or how did this feel, or and then some, every now and then they'll say, I knew I could, I knew I can do it. And just knowing that you, mom, were, you're able to do like all these endurance races. If you could still do all this, I could, suffer through, like a 5K, or you know you know or or an 800-meter out in the track. So if anything, it changed my relationship in the sense where, both of each of us, they and myself, we give each other the encouragement, that, there, what we do is hard. Yeah, there's a choice, of course. There's a choice in everything. I don't have to do all of this. I don't have to run. I don't have to do these triathlons, but it's what I love to do. And they see that. And I feel like it's important that, they know that, if you love to do something, you should go after it. And if you want something, you work hard, and, your goals will, you'll make your goals. And that's how I teach the twins. The thing is, the twins, they're really good kids. They're very motivated, and I don't know if the motivation comes from me or from both of us. Um, but I think a lot of it is, I always try to encourage them, to go after what you love. If this is what you want to do, you just have to work hard. This is the choice that you want it to do, and it's hard. You just have to work for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope what they take out of this is, you know, you can, to be able to do, or to take what you love and use that to make a difference, figure out
Mhm.
what you love to do, and use that for good. And also the connections, I think, that
Yeah.
we've made.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what they take away from this past 8 years.
Yeah. Now and just a really minor thing, it's really nice to hear, especially from Maddie. Tyler's a little bit more quiet about this, but she loves, when she follows, obviously, We Run With You. And every now and then she's just like, wow, I love the guests that you are talking to, or the people that you've helped. That's just, she thinks it's really cool what we're doing. And for me, that makes me feel like the time that we're putting into We Run With You is not for nothing. It's also teaching our kids that, yeah, mom and dad went through, yeah, well, I had an aneurysm, and, your father was there the whole way, and now we're giving back. And it's just something, part of this is like also teaching them to be, good people, to give back, to those who took care of you. And I think that was the main reason why, I mean, as you know, why I came back to LA initially is, to show, when you I think the biggest thank you that you can give to anyone is, especially in the medical, when you have something challenging that you went through, is to show the people that took care of you how you're doing and how you're thriving. To me, that was my way of saying thank you. And I don't want to glaze over what you did back in 2016. Again, it just shows the type of person you are, Dr. Russin, that I mean, clearly you went more than the extra mile. You went an extra 26.2 miles for me. And still, we're still in touch. We keep in touch. We race together, and we're doing good together. And
well, we should plug at the end of this California. So
yeah,
for everybody who sees this, they need to come out and support Kathy and Laura at Ironman California, October this year. And I'm going to shame Tats by mentioning his name here too. He did say he was gonna show up. He's registered. The last time I saw him, he was eating a second burrito of the day, and it was only like noon.
But he must be training hard then.
Yeah.
To be putting away those burritos.
He registered. He's coming. He's coming. He says he's going to hang out with Rebecca if he's not in shape, but I gotta get him in shape.
Yeah, I can't wait to cheer you guys on, and I would love some company. So I would. Anyone?
Well, Tats might be your company, actually.
Oh. No, I want to watch him. I want to cheer him on throughout the course.
He's fast. He's faster than I am.
Go,
He's just
go, Tats.
Got to get himself together. So I'm looking forward to it. And Laura's got her race today, so we all got her in mind today. And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. It has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll see you. Well, oh, that's right. We're not doing a countdown.
Doing countdown. We'll see you soon.
See you in a couple weeks.
See the race.
Yep.
Keep training, and looking forward to it.
We Run With You is a nonprofit with a mission to improve the lives of people suffering from brain injury and disease by funding research, raising awareness, and providing support for survivors and their families. Find out more at werunwithyou.org. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a comment or review. Until next time, keep doing good.